Thank you for remaining with us. Now to our last story. You know, the sudden and shocking oil subsidy removal announcement by President Bola Tinubu was bound to ruffle feathers somewhat. But the cheering news is that both the equity and the money markets responded positively to the pronouncements by the #1 citizen in his inaugural address. Meanwhile, the NNPC has rolled out new pump price regime, while governors warn fuel marketers against hoarding and price hike. And the president met with the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefile, the group chief executive officer of the NNPCL, Mele Kyari, and labor leaders in order to remove looming agitation over the phasing out of the petrol subsidy regime. As they say, the quality of our lives depend not on whether we would have conflicts or agitations, but on how we respond to them today.
Yes, it's something that we knew would come at some point. For me, I thought that it could be at the end of the month, I will see subsidy being removed. Mr. President was the only person in the last regime who insisted that subsidy should not go. As far as he was concerned, he did not want to see people suffer. But the Nigerian economy and had suffered a lot from the subsidy.
A lot of pounding.
In terms of our earnings, in terms of our receipts, our revenue, the subsidy regime ensured that Nigeria got a short end of the stick. The World Bank, the IMF, they've been saying, look, do something about your revenue, because our revenue to debt servicing is horrendous. I think it's the worst in the world now, because you are literally spending 96%
now
by last year's figures, 96%. And it is projected that in 2023, we are going to spend 100% of our revenue on debt servicing. And we're talking about this debt servicing, it's just the interest that we are talking about. Not the quantum of not the principal. So if we are spending that much on debt servicing, then it suggests that we are in trouble. This year, it was projected that we'll spend 6 trillion on subsidy. People have suggested, like the former CBN governor, that we either remove subsidy or Nigeria is doomed. We have taken so many loans because we have nowhere else to turn to. When a good chunk of what should come to you from crude oil sales gets diverted to paying subsidy bills. That is where we find ourselves. At a time when we were deceiving ourselves that there was no subsidy, NNPC from crude oil sales was spending by itself, or they were allocating by themselves, not by the National Assembly, because we were content with deceiving ourselves that subsidy did not exist some years back. But NNPC from crude oil sales will set aside money as subsidy bills.
That's it.
And there was nothing Nigerians could do about it. Now, you can imagine if you had 6 trillion naira, it would take care of a lot of the critical infrastructure. Yeah. You do not fund the health sector sufficiently. You do not fund education sufficiently. University academics ask for a pay rise. You've been paying them the same salary since 2009. They ask for pay rise. You demonize them. You call them, you made them look like animals before fellow Nigerians. All because you are thinking, okay, where are you going to find the money? Yet 6 trillion in a country where You are setting aside 6 trillion to fund consumption. Which country spends that kind of money simply to fund consumption? No, I mean, it is at a point you have to decide, what do we do?
Yeah.
And with the choice we had, this fraudulent subsidy regime, a situation in which the NNPC tells us, oh, this is our daily consumption. And we know in our heart of hearts that is a lie, that we don't consume that much. But we cannot stop them. They simply tell us what they like, remove what they like as subsidy, for subsidy, and we just fold our hands.
That's it.
They tell us, oh, the unusually huge volume of petrol consumption is because of smuggling. And
yeah.
the Comptroller General of Customs said, how many tankers have to cross our borders? Which roads are they using? Because the border posts, the major border posts where you can move those heavy trucks in such huge number, they are well known. They're able to cross. And there is every day that they are crossing like that. The man calculated and said, no, this consumption level is a fraud. We do not consume this much.
Yeah.
I had the Senate president, the current Senate president, we played him at least 3 times on this program, saying that, look, this thing is a fraud. That if we continue like this, one day the NNPC will come and tell us there's about 200 million liters a day that we consume, and we'll be looking at them. People are smiling to the bank. Fat cats are being made every day, smiling to the bank,
with free money.
making money from the misfortune of a country. So now, look at where we found ourselves. We couldn't fix our refineries, which if we are done, will at least bring down the price. I'm not saying significantly, because we will still sell at the global oil prices.
Yeah.
But at least fixing our refineries will bring down the price a little bit. We couldn't. An individual can build a refinery 650,000 barrels a day. A whole country cannot fix just 4 refineries. Whereas in America, you see a single state having more than 26 refineries.
Yeah.
So this is
even countries that don't produce oil,
they have refineries. We were even buying refined petrol
from them,
from countries that don't have a drop of oil. It's such a shame.
This fuel subsidy regime takes us back to January 2012. So you remember the hue and cry at Ojota here. And so you're looking back and asking yourself, was it necessary?
Well, we've always said it that per time, people take the position that suits them. That's what we do. It's not a position that is in the interest of the whole country. It is what is politically correct at the time that they do. Because look at the figure the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative released. Between 2005 and 2021, we had 13.6 trillion on subsidy, which is good money. And we, like BKO Act, not even fix our own refineries?
Oh.
Because,
or possibly
you
build new ones.
Even the old ones can. I mean, you have people working in those old ones who are earning salary.
As he said,
extortionate salary.
You know, extortion is
a single individual
has built one.
Yeah.
So we cannot even maintain of the country.
Yeah.
We cannot even because all of the foreign exchange, perhaps most of the foreign exchange came from the country through the CBN. The same forex that we don't have to give to the average Nigerian has gone into that.
Yes.
And we have fixed it. And we are still talking about turnaround maintenance of 4 of them. And some people, to use the word of BKO, are there for 8 years, producing nothing, earning extortionate salaries. And we say, you know, that's one of the areas where I find very funny when it comes to labor issues. Because the labor unions will come and they will say, no, don't do it. You cannot sack. Whereas these people they are not doing anything, don't contribute anything. You have people who are specialists, who are professionals, engineers, geologists, and all of them working in those places. And yet we have not been able to refine in how many years, and they are still earning this extortionist salary. Like it has been said, until we start manufacturing, and one of it is refining our own crude. Because what we should be doing, if we have 4 refineries, and we are not consuming what they claim we are consuming now, is to be refining for other countries.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, we should, yes, we should even have a policy that should not allow the better part of our crude to leave this country unrefined.
That's it.
We should be able to ask other countries that want this crude, what is the grade that you want? For instance, most of the things that are used in America, clothes, shoes, and all the rest, they come from China. But they insist this is the quality that we want.
Yeah.
And they bring it in. So we also can ask them, this is the quality that we, which quality do you, and then we begin to stop this regime of subsidy and making money for ourselves. It's crazy.
We send out crude and
we bring in the refined products.
Bring petrol, kerosene, maybe aviation fuel.
Yes, all of it.
There are other byproducts which we are not talking about.
Yes.
So we are losing so much.
So many. How can a country as big as our country not be in position through its refineries to produce
Polythene bags,
engine oil,
Engine oil.
for example.
grease.
What about the black oil for industries?
You know, so many. There are many varieties of petroleum products that we can produce. How can you? It's criminal to run a country in the way Nigeria has been run. It's criminal.
Very, very. I agree
Because
with
there's no, we are just looking for the cheap,
easy way out.
easy way out. I was speaking with one very senior Nigerian senator, very, very senior. And he said, Jide, we made mistakes. President Buhari was asking for loan at every point we give him. That was the easy option. But we shouldn't have chosen the easy option. We were supposed to improve our revenue generating sources.
Didn't you tell him he was crying over spilled beans?
There's a way you don't talk to elders. So that next time
He can talk to you.
he can talk to me. If I talk to him like that, he will even still report me to some of my big friends where I get information. And without the information that I have, I'm just like some of those so-called journalists who sit in the studio and be using social media
Stories.
stories and call themselves journalists.
Yeah.
You are not journalists, you are just an AOP.
OAP.
Or OAP. That's who you are. So I don't want to be like that. I want information from the big sources, information that I can verify. They are the kind of people who give me. So sometimes when I know they are not making sense, I just listen. Just listen, let them talk. I can cross-check what is said with another big person. So, you see, it is criminal to run a country the way we run Nigeria. And our leaders need to bury their heads in shame, because there is no reason in the world to not be able to do something about our refineries or build new ones. Angola.
If the 4 refineries we have are irredeemable, we should be told that.
I don't even.
But we are spending money on them.
See, go and check. There are refineries that are over 100 years old.
Far older than us.
And are working in the Americas, Canada. There are refineries, even in the US, there are refineries more than 100 years old. It's just like the airplane, Air Force One. It's not exactly
New.
for where.
In the strict sense.
It's
of it.
old. Air Force One is very
maintained.
old, but they keep upgrading.
Yeah.
Keep upgrading it. And the president, every time he steps into the Air Force One, he knows he's stepping into an incredible machine. So, in our own case, when were these refineries built? These refineries are far older refineries in the US. I'm telling you. Google oldest refinery in the world. You see when they've been using it.
It's a maintenance culture.
We allow those refineries to remain like that. You come into power, you threaten, you boast that you are going to do all this, you are going to fix all the refineries, and you leave them worse than they were. No, now we can't be behaving like that. Angola built a brand new refinery. Angola, the true build, operate, and transfer. We can do that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So that after a while, it becomes our own.
Because Jide and Dotun, whether or not you believe it, we are bound to pay for this mistake.
I even believe that the decision to make them go moribund is deliberate. Because some people are making money from importation.
Yes.
It's deliberate. Everywhere that you have...
that's one way by which is deliberate. The other way by which is deliberate is the deliberate decision to not let them work.
Yeah.
So that we can bring funds for turnaround
maintenance.
All right.
Turnaround.
Let us make some funds now. We'll go on a commercial break. But please stay. We are coming back to wind up. Hold on.
The APC candidate for the speakership position of the 10th House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, PhD, Iyan Zazal, congratulates the Governor of Kaduna State, Senator Uba Sani, on his inauguration. Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas wishes Governor Uba Sani success in his tenure and calls on the people of Kaduna State to give him maximum support to succeed.
All right, welcome back, folks. Let's spend the remaining 5 minutes putting finishing touches to the subsidy regime thing we are talking about. Dotun, let's go back there. Crude, we export crude. What returns to us are things we can, touch with our fingers. What about those other things?
Well,
as we said in passing.
What we have said is we have given them the crude for a fee. So it's what we pay for that will come back to us.
Nothing more.
You can't have what you didn't pay for. We paid for aviation fuel, petrol, diesel, kerosene. We didn't pay for the other things. Yeah. So we must buy them. Again,
do you know, if you Google the byproducts of crude, you'll be amazed.
So many of them.
You'll be so amazed.
So many of them. And that's why some of those old industrialists shouted themselves almost was. The Eleganzas, the Samuel Adedoyins, they were talking about this thing of refining in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And then all our industries died, especially the ones in northern Nigeria manufacturing clothes. That's the textile.
Yeah, textile.
That's what killed him. Because if we had all of these things in place, we wouldn't need them. In fact, some of those things will even enable you to generate electricity.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a whole lot that we are losing. But like we have said, there are some people who don't want it to work. But I think what we should be doing now is that as the government is removing this subsidy, because I trust this government will be able to do something if we go by what happened in Lagos during the regime of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. We should be able to quickly put in palliatives. I don't want a train that will take me from Lagos to Ibadan for 6,500 naira because I can go by road for 1,500. If you are going to give us mass transit, let it be mass transit.
Yes. In the true sense.
In the true sense of it. So that we don't begin to agitate for increase in salary.
And this one, Jide, that the subsidy, nobody can touch the subsidy physically. Prices are jumping up. Transport fares are going up, and pump prices
will jump up. Especially now that it's no longer in the realm of speculation. It's the truth. People now have to pay more for petrol. Petrol is the product, the petroleum product that we use the most. It's the byproduct of crude oil that we use the most. So you can understand why there is so much agitation. How many people use diesel? Diesel had been subsidyless for years.
Yeah.
Nobody really bothers. Kerosene
too. So.
It's only PMS that has subsidy
and maybe aviation fuel.
Regulated. No, even aviation fuel is not regulated. That's why at a point it went to like 950 per liter, and they were groaning. It still gets imported into our country because we do not refine these things. In a whole year, some years back, Kaduna Refinery refined just 50 million liters of petrol in a whole year. That is not even by their claims. It's not up to what
one day consumption.
And there are 365 days in the year. So does that make sense?
And the staffers are being paid.
Of course.
Extortionate salary. That is the truth. There are some places in this country where the ordinary civil servant earn higher salary than the president. Civil servant is not of director cadre, earning salary higher than
that of the
president. I think who mentioned it the other day? One of these top people in Abuja said it, that there are some civil servants who are higher than the president.
Okay.
We have that.
Dr. Jide, the popular saying is you pour oil on troubled waters. Now, crude oil is troubled. What do we pour on it? Common sense.
Common sense. I was going to think about that. You took it off my mouth.
Okay.
You are very notorious for that.
All right, we must go. That will just about do it. If you missed any part of